one of the biggest buildings in the world there. For the first time in nearly half a century, NASA has a rocket inside that building capable of sending astronauts back to the moon. The Space Launch System rocket is taller than a football field is long and more powerful than the iconic Saturn V rocket from the Apollo program, which last flew way back in 1973. NASA is now preparing its new moon rocket for the first test launch in the months ahead. And our Mark Strassmann got an up-close look. He shows us now NASA's new timeline for a lunar landing.
Both iconic and daunting, NASA's vehicle assembly building is one of the largest in the world.
But obviously you need something this big for a vehicle this big.
Towering inside, a new rocket that makes you feel just as puny. It's called the Space Launch System, or SLS.
This thing is massive. It's about 322 feet tall, so that's taller than the Statue of Liberty.
We had to step way back with NASA Test Director Dan Flores to get a good look at the most powerful rocket ever built.
If you look past the scaffolding, you can see the nose of the two boosters.
Yep.
How powerful?
So the boosters provide about 7 million pounds of thrust at liftoff. That's a lot of power. It's a lot of power.
NASA spent 11 months stacking this mega rocket piece by piece. The core stage, 212 feet long, arrived by barge. Its 4 engines will produce another 2 million pounds of thrust.
You got a rope up in there?
Cranes gingerly lifted and lowered billions of dollars of space hardware into place.
And then at the very top?
The very top, you have Orion.
Orion is the crew capsule. Flores took us up 311 feet for a closer look.
When you look at it this close, you look at all the hundreds of thousands of nuts and bolts that have to be torqued, the hours spent by our technicians getting this work done to get us to this major milestone.
And every one of those bolts better be perfect.
They better be, right?
That's because early next year, this rocket and capsule will roll to the launch pad for a critical test flight, Artemis I. SLS will launch Orion on a course 40,000 miles beyond the moon and back. No astronauts will be on board this flight, but it's the first in a series of increasingly complex lunar missions.
We've got a moon-bound rocket stacked with a crew capsule for the first time since Apollo 17 in 1972.
Oh, this is a big deal, and it is beautiful, and it is a monster.
After more than $30 billion in development costs, NASA Administrator Bill Nelson knows the pressure's on for that test flight to go well.
I am an optimist by nature. True, space flight is risky, and there are penalties that you pay because mistakes are made by human beings.
The next mission, Artemis II, will have a crew. It's due to fly around the moon by May 2024. NASA's now hoping Artemis III, a moon landing using SpaceX's Starship, happens sometime in 2025. That crew will include the first female moonwalker, and astronaut Kayla Barron's one of the candidates.
If they ask who wants to go to the moon first, you're raising your hand?
Oh, yeah, I think we all raise our hands. Like, who would not want to go to the moon? Whatever the crew ends up being, we're going to be pumped for each other.
But first, the most complex rocket in history has to work. America's lunar future depends on it. For CBS Mornings, Mark Strassmann at the Kennedy Space Center.
Mark Strassmann with access that is truly out of this world.